Hey, in just a moment, I want to share some thoughts about the NCAA changing its position on paying athletes. That is a huge story, even in a very busy news cycle. I think college football as we know it today and appreciate it today is about to significantly change, and I'm not sure for the better. So enjoy it while you can, especially with the football championship futures bets now open via our friends at Bet Parks. You can bet on who wins it all. $25 wager on Michigan pays $40 if they win it all. $25 on Alabama. Roll Tide pays $50 if they win it all. $25 on Texas pays $75. $25 on Washington pays $175. My listeners in Michigan loving the Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app. Play all your favorite casino games for real money and bet on your favorite sports. Sunday, it's pro football. Detroit, a 3-point road favorite at Chicago. I like Detroit in that. I need another day. I need another day to analyze Philly, 3-point road underdog at Dallas. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Last week, I felt so secure with Philly in 3.5 hosting San Francisco. I'm like, what do these odds makers know? I know more than they do. No, I didn't. Download the Play Gun Lake Casino app right now. Get all your favorite casino games right at your fingertips. Plus, bet on college and pro football this weekend. Odds and slots and bets and games. It's fun. New users only. There's a casino bonus. It has to be wagered. Terms and conditions apply. See the website at playgunlake.com for details. Got to be 21 in Michigan. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline, 1-800-270-7117. More headlines now from Smerconish.com, the daily newsletter. By the way, TC, it is a Wednesday, which means it's the day before TC After Dark drops. But it also means that Rob Rogers has a great cartoon.
He sure does.
Because of tonight's Republican debate, the fourth and final with all of them on stage before the vote. Yeah, there it is for the benefit of our YouTube folks.
Yep.
And you see
so good.
You see the image of Donald Trump looking at the four who are left standing on that stage. I love it. I love all of these.
Chris Christie's looking a little tired. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes, indeed. I don't want to give it away, but boy, is it good.
No, go ahead. Describe a little bit.
So it's the screen of the presidential debate with the four candidates on the stage, and Trump is watching it. And in the sort of a thought bubble, if GOP candidates debate in a forest, but Trump isn't around to hear them, do they make a sound? And Trump is saying, nope.
Well, just think about last night, him, the town hall, Sean Hannity, and how Hannity, and I talked about this on CNN this morning.
Yes.
Hannity gives him the opportunity to say, no, I wouldn't be a dictator.
No, Hannity draws him down the line of, now you're going to tell the American people that you wouldn't, you know what I mean? It was unbelievable.
Right. And Trump says, no, I would be a dictator on day one. And you heard my comment on CNN this morning. Right. I said, he's crazy like a fox. Yeah. He has just redefined what it means to be a dictator because according to him, closing the borders and drilling for oil. So now the MAGA base gets to say, yeah, I want that kind of a dictator.
Right.
Here's a story that on any other day would be getting more prominence. I'm not even sure where it all leads, but there's about to be a significant change with regard to college athletics. David Fahrenthold was a great guest here on this program about a month ago. We released it as a daily podcast. Fahrenthold was describing NILs, name, image, likeness. And here's what stands out in my mind from that conversation. I was trying to wrap my head around the idea of how now, in the aftermath of a Supreme Court decision about a year ago, college athletes are able to get paid. And this NIL world is what I'm talking about. And I, after listening to Fahrenthold's explanation, thought, this is like a political campaign with a super PAC. In other words, the universities themselves are not directly involved, like the candidate didn't put that ad on the air, but an affinity group, like an alumni organization in this case, they raise the money, they cut the deal, and the university steps back like the campaign has to distance itself from the super PAC. My take on what's now happening is you won't need that subterfuge anymore because the NCAA is going to greenlight certain universities at the highest level just being directly involved. Here's the lead of the USA Today story. NCAA President Charlie Baker unveiled a proposal on Tuesday that could alter the landscape of college sports. In a letter to Division I schools, Baker outlined the key tenets and reasoning for a proposed shift in governance that would effectively enable big money athletic departments to directly compensate athletes by allowing each to create an enhanced educational trust fund for them. The proposal would also allow those same schools, like the upper echelon of the football bowl subdivision, to branch off and make their own rules surrounding roster size, transfers, name, image, and likeness, among other issues. So I'm not expert in it. It makes me feel like, well, I'll tell you a funny story. My dad loved football, loved college football, loved high school football. His least favorite was the pros, even though he was an Eagles season ticket holder.
Interesting.
He always rooted against Notre Dame.
Oh, why?
Because he thought that Notre Dame had the in. I can't believe I'm telling this story, but that he thought Notre Dame had the in with like Catholic athletes.
Okay.
That the local parish, the priest, was going to, say to Johnny, who was the stellar blue chip athlete, Johnny and his family, you really ought to be going to Notre Dame.
I mean, was he wrong?
I don't
think he was
I don't
wrong.
know. I don't know.
I don't think he was wrong.
But in the same way that,
I think Notre Dame is sort of like the shining star place to go for Catholic athletes.
Yeah, but Dad thought that
if you want the Catholic education,
it gave them a leg up. Now we would
sure.
have this conversation, and I would say, but Dad, if you're in Pennsylvania, not always, but you're at least gonna give Paterno and Penn State, Happy Valley, a serious look.
Again, it depends if you want the Catholic education.
If you grow up in Michigan because your family rooted for Michigan, chances are, you're going to think about the black and gold and fill in the blank, Oklahoma, Nebraska, etc. Even though I know if you look at those rosters, they draw from all over the country. I'm saying that if you're in Oklahoma City, there's going to be some pressure brought to bear on you to go play for Oklahoma, in the same way that if you're Catholic, somebody's going to say to you, well, don't you want to go to Notre Dame? Now, I believe, this is just my armchair analysis,
yes, go ahead.
that like Jerry Seinfeld famously said on one of the shows, we're going to root even more for laundry. It's going to be all about the money. And sort of maybe it never was so pristine, but the amateur nature of college sports at that level is going to go away. And then I say, TC, while I don't like that, it's not fair that coaches make $10 million, that the universities do what they're able to do. You and I love the look of dormitories that
along
are close
the main drag,
that are close to us,
and a big old bridge,
and a nice bar and restaurant tucked in there.
It is amazing what 2 national championships can buy for a college.
Right. Okay. And that's wonderful for the school.
It's fantastic. But should those kids?
But what about those players?
I know.
So that's what this story is all about.
It's fascinating.
It's all about to me. And all I know, I want to know more. I'm genuinely interested in it. All I know is that big change is coming. Okay.
Big change.
Let us talk about your former division or conference or league. What the hell happened to Yale?
I mean, what were they? They were leading by 6 with
3 seconds.
3 seconds left.
Yes.
And then all they had to do, I mean, I have the audio of the end of the game if you want to hear it. But
can I set it up?
Set it up, because my understanding is they were up by 6 with 3 seconds left, and then all they had to do was inbound the ball, and that was it. But then there was a foul, and somehow it all went very badly.
Okay, so it's in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah, against Vermont.
Last Saturday night, University of Vermont is now 7-2. Yale men's basketball team is 5-4. After conceding, I want to back up a little bit. Here it is. Yale played from behind for nearly the entire game, taking their first lead with just 54 seconds remaining. Then, after guard Bez Mbang sank 2 free throws to give the Bulldogs a 65-60 lead in the game's final 3 seconds. So Yale is up by 5, 3 seconds left. Let me read one more paragraph, and then you can play whatever you have. After conceding a Vermont layup with 0.6 seconds left, all Yale needed to do was inbound the ball and head to the buses. However, an offensive foul called on guard August Mahoney gave the Catamounts the ball back. Vermont's TJ Long caught the ball off an inbound play, hoisted a catch-and-shoot three-pointer that banked in as time expired. He also got fouled on the play and hit the free throw.
And here's what it sounds like.
Who have gone the full length of this bout tonight. The count amounts with only 3 seconds remaining. Deloney puts it in with 0.6 seconds still on the clock.
65-62.
But it will be too little too late. All Yale need to do is inbounds. And a foul, a push-off. It's Vermont ball. What can Vermont draw up? Can they have a prayer answer? Deloney. Long. He puts it in! Oh! And they called the foul. 12 of 15 shooting free throws on the year. Patrick Jim goes deathly silent. He made it!
And that's it.
Pose, TJ Long, and bang.
Exciting. It's exciting just to listen to.
I love college basketball. I love college
Yale
basketball.
and Vermont. Can you imagine if I said to you, hey, we're going to play some audio, if I told you this a week ago, for Vermont and Yale? Really?
Yeah, no. I would have thought
so.
I would have thought it was some sort of college protest situation, but no, it's college basketball.
More headlines from the newsletter, the Wednesday edition of the newsletter. This one really burns me up.
Oh.
Really burns me up.
Oh, no.
Congress provided $7.5 billion for electric vehicle chargers. Built so far, a goose egg, a Blutarski.
How is that possible?
What's
going
possible?
on? Okay, what is going on?
How is that possible?
Something about
I remember saying to you like a year ago, I'm really excited about this stimulus bill because there are electric deserts in parts of Pennsylvania, parts of the Poconos where I like to go. It's gotten a little bit better, but like my family is from the coal regions, from Hazleton. Okay, and to get to the northeast extension of the Turnpike where there's a big charging station, Hazleton is just the best example that I know that I can tell you there are no chargers. So they say they were going to roll out $7.5 billion worth of chargers. Like, hey, this is great. Then people will get electric cars. Instead, 2 years on, the program has yet to install a single charger. States and the charger industry blame the delays mostly on the labyrinth of new contracting and performance requirements that they have to navigate in order to receive the federal funds.
So the funds haven't even sort of gotten to where they're supposed to go. So it's not, I thought originally it was some sort of building issue.
It's like even worse. While federal officials have authorized more than $2 billion of the funds to be sent to the states, fewer than half of the states have even started to take bids from contractors. This is like the federal government.
Oh my gosh.
Remember what this was like from my days in working in housing and urban development.
Slow as molasses.
It's like slow, and every T's got to be like, just get it done.
Yeah, no, you have to
Just
follow
get it
all
done.
kinds of protocol.
And
it's like working for a big corporation.
And for Biden, there ought to be charging stations
with his name on them
that say this is your stimulus money.
Right.
You know
At work.
You know how it's like, welcome to Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, governor, and it ought to say, here's your stimulus money, President Joe Biden.
Right.
Like Trump wanting to sign the tax rebate checks.
Yes. With that signature of
that
his.
is such an embarrassment. And I have to say, I'm listening more and more to conservative media just going after electric cars. Trump talked about it last night with Hannity.
Against electric cars in general?
Yes.
Why?
Oh, my God. Like they're being force-fed on us and nobody wants them.
Oh.
And after all, their impact on the environment because of the mining that's necessitated for the back. But there's like a deliberate effort. It's become.
Is it anti-Musk?
It's like a thing that no, it's not. It's anti-Biden.
Oh, it's anti-Biden.
It's used as a means of just. This is like what Joe wants you to do.
If you're for it, I'm against it.
Yeah. Like Trump last night, Trump's pitch was to say, you ought to have a combustion engine if you want one. You ought to have an electric car if you want one. You ought to have a hybrid if you want one. Yeah. But it's become an issue. Yeah. And this is only going to, it's just,
that doesn't help.
It's really terrible. It's really, really terrible. 2 years on and that's it. Okay. Something else. You can read all these stories in today's Wednesday edition of the newsletter. The heads of 3 top colleges, Harvard, University of Pennsylvania, and MIT, all testified yesterday. Now, TC,
yes.
The headline that I'm seeing says, and we went with this from the Times of Israel, heads of 3 top U.S. colleges refuse to say calling for the genocide of Jews is harassment. There must be more to this. You have the audio, because let me just say before we listen, if the question is whether a group calling for the genocide of Jews is engaging in harassment, the answer to me is a clear hell yes. Did the college presidents really refuse to answer that?
They wanted to give it some more nuance. So, I mean, the answer is whether they refused to answer it as a yes or no question is yes. They did refuse to answer it as a yes or no question. And Elise Stefanik peppered them, like kept asking them, because she wanted it to be a yes or no. They did not want it to be a yes or no. We'll start with her questioning MIT's head. Here's what that sounded like.
At MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
Yes or no? Calling for the genocide of Jews does not constitute bullying and harassment?
I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
So those would not be according to the MIT's code of conduct or rules?
That would be investigated as harassment if pervasive and severe.
Ms. McGill,
Wow,
at
hang on a
Penn,
second. Okay, so that was Sally Kornbluth. Like, it just probably like over, I'm not defending her answer. It was a terrible answer. It reminds me of a candidate with so many advisors telling them what to say at the debate that they just lose their simple sense of being able to answer a question. If a group or an individual calls for the genocide of the Jews, it's sure as hell better run afoul of your harassment policy, or you need a new harassment policy. Next is Liz McGill, the Penn president. Okay, let's listen.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
I am
Now,
asking.
I noticed she said the same thing as the MIT president.
They must have some
There must
sort
be a
of
standard.
Right.
Maybe their First Amendment lawyers have looked at it. To me, it would run afoul of Brandenburg if you're calling for the genocide of Jews or any other group. Like, go call for a two-state solution. Go say that Netanyahu has allowed expansion in the West Bank that preclude the opportunity for the Palestinians to have their state. Like, all of that is fine. But to call for the genocide of the Jews, I don't agree with their interpretation of the First Amendment, if that's what it's based on. Do you have MIT as well?
Typically calling
Harvard is
for
the
the
next one.
genocide
Okay,
of Jews,
so hang on.
does that
she's still on
constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
Yes
speech
or no?
becomes if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
Okay, I need to
the
spend time on
context?
this. I need to spend more time on this. I need to get a First Amendment scholar in here. There's a reason why these three very bright academics, presidents of our prestigious universities, are answering it that way. Clearly, they've been schooled that the First Amendment doesn't allow them to say otherwise. I don't agree with that interpretation, but this is no
fact that
coincidence.
the three of them
This is
have
no
the-
coincidence
Okay.
that they're saying this.
Okay.
That's really interesting.
Isn't it?
Now I have to hustle.
Okay.
Poll results yesterday, 18,653. Do advances in weaponry of war make us more or less safe? 59.64% said less safe. That's because of my reading of the book Conflict, written by General Petraeus and historian Andrew Roberts. Today's poll question: should, not will, should Liz Cheney run for president? I don't think that she really will. I think it's all about this, which is the book that she just released. I don't believe in coincidence. We weren't talking about Liz Cheney last week running for president. We are talking about her this week. What else happened this week? The book just dropped. Yesterday was the pub date. Conor McGregor, speaking of individuals running for president, I got to tell you something. Conor McGregor now hinting at a presidential election bid in Ireland. I watched his documentary, and I really thought he was.
Has your vote?
I thought he was really an amazing guy. What a work ethic he has. Maybe he'll bring that to public service. All right, there's a lot more there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. See you soon.